Behold, the divine light guides us all.
I, Ephesus, saw upon the Mount Sion a great people, whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. And in the midst of them there was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest. And upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing, and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahweh. Now are they crowned and receive palms. Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them, and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of Yahweh, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Then the angel said unto me, Go thy way, and tell my people what manner of things, and how great wonders of the Lord thy power thou hast seen.
Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 29. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, which is wine, which is made from grapes, as you know. And our Lord, he loves to drink, man. That's something that our Lord took pleasure in when he was here on this planet Earth. He's not going to do it anymore until he returns to do it with you. Showing just how much he loves his elect, man. He's not even going to drink until he does it again with you. I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. So what a moment that's going to be, man.
All right, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing this word and truth and in sincerity across also likely the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of there. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. All right, and what I want to get into, all right, this evening tonight is going to how what we're seeing now, you know, is a mention of Armageddon, a mention of the return of Yahweh Shah, which this is true. Now, the context, you know, in which these devils, you know, because you have now, you know, American, all right, military leaders, you know, are telling, you know, the military that this is a divine war, okay? That this is a war for God, all right? But they twist it as they're defending, you know, the small hats, is them defending the actual people, okay? And they're saying that this war is going to bring back, okay, who they call Jesus, which we know this war is going to bring back Yahweh Shai, okay? And the fact that they're even speaking on that, showing you that this is their war. This is their war that's going to usher in, all right, the second coming of Yahweh Shai. And he's coming to deliver the true Israelites, okay? And those imposters are going to be destroyed. Okay, those imposters are going to be destroyed in this war. Okay, those small hats. All right, even those Palestinians in the land, everything in their land finna be cleared out. Okay, the Lord finna clear their land out with this war, and Yahweh Shai is finna judge all the nations. Okay, in this war, the war of Armageddon. All right, the mountain of troops. Okay, and this is why you see all the armies and militaries of the world are being gathered. All right, to this region. Okay, that's why this region was always the powder keg. All right, for this war. You see, this is the conflict. You've been having conflicts all throughout the earth, and this and that, and Russia, Ukraine, and rumors of China and Taiwan. Okay, but no, this is all right. The event, okay, that's pushing us into this third world war. This conflict with all right these small hats. All right, America and Iran. Okay, this is the conflict that's drawing all the world's militaries. Okay, into this war. You see? Now, when you go here real quick, let's go to Matthew 24. All right, then we'll play the video, and then we'll go into that prophecy, man. All right, so when you go to Matthew 24, and and I started 32. It says, "Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh." Okay, so as you can look at, fig tree, where the fig tree gives signs in a certain season, it starts to give signs. All right, you can tell what season it is by looking at, the fruits. Okay, because it begins to bud. Okay, and then eventually it begins to give forth fruits, and then those fruits begin to ripen. And this is what we're looking at with prophecy, man. Things are starting to bud. These prophecies are starting to bud in the earth. They're starting now. We're starting to see the fruits, okay, of prophecy, man. Okay, so we know that Yahweh Shai is not, just like you can look at fruit, okay. You can look at a fruit tree and gauge what season we in. Well, you can look at the signs that's happening in the earth and gauge what season we in as far as the coming of Yahweh Shai, which is close. Okay, there's not much left that has to happen for Yahweh Shai, and the things that have to happen are happening. Okay, they just gotta get to a certain point. Okay, they just gotta get to a certain ripeness. Okay, it says, "So likewise, ye, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door." Okay, so we're seeing all these things spoken of in Matthew the 24th chapter. We're seeing these things because he spoke about what wars, rumors of wars, nations against nation, pestilence, okay, famine. We're seeing all these things, man. Okay, and they're constantly brewing up because we're at the door now. Okay, Yahweh Shai is at the door. Okay, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. So this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Okay, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. So we're that generation. There's no doubt that this is that generation to where all these things spoken of in the scriptures, the things that are left to happen prophetically, okay, the MOTB, Jacob trouble, and this third world war. Okay, those things are going to be filled in this generation, man. No doubt about it, because it's already happening, man. They can't keep, just at the rate that they're going, they can't just keep going like this, man. It has to be, that's why Yahweh Shai, not only is he coming to wage war, he's coming to stop war as well. Okay? Because the way that these nations are going, they will just destroy everything. You see? When they start bringing out this high power weaponry, and then when they get to them nukes, man, if they were just to keep going, they would destroy, everything, man. Okay? So Yahweh Shai is coming to put an end, okay, to this third war by judging all these heathen, okay, by destroying all the militaries of the heathen, man. Okay, so this is the stage that's being set. The stage is being set for Yahushua. You know, and that's why you have, you know, that like Esau, he's trying to manipulate the Bible, you know, to raise the morale of the military. Okay, but hey, it's a spirit out there of the return of Yahushua. Okay, they call him Jesus, but we know what it is. See, in the spirit, we know what it is. We in the light, so we know exactly what it is, man. And we know this the Lord talking. The Lord, the fact that they're saying that this the Lord talking to the church, like I'm on the way. You know, this is it. I'm on the way. Okay. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. So the words of the Lord are going to remain. All right. The words of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. See, this rulership, this heaven, Esau's heaven, okay, and the earth in this condition, because this fire also is going to refine and cleanse and purify the earth as well. Okay, it's going to be used for mass judgment, all right, and it's going to be used for mass purification and refinement as well of the earth. Okay, Esau has the earth in the poor condition, man. Okay, Esau has the earth in the poor condition. You see, and all that's finna pass away. You see, this beast system, this technocracy, you know, this regular ass technocracy that this nigga finna try to throw together, all that's finna pass away. Okay, so but my words shall not pass away. Okay, so now let's go here. I want to play this video and then go into that prophecy. Okay, so this is, I believe this is the Young Turks. Oh, here you go. Yeah, so let's play this real quick. All right, and it says, report U.S. troops told Iran war is part of God's divine plan, and they're right. Okay, but they don't have the right context, they don't have the right understanding, but they're right on their part. This is the Most High's divine plan. Okay, we're seeing prophecy play out. We're seeing the Lord do His pleasure in the earth, man. Okay, He's exactly right. So let's play this.
Journalist Jonathan Larson reports that U.S. troops were being told that the U.S. Israeli attack on Iran was in preparation for Armageddon and also the return of Jesus. Jank, is this comforting?
And they're exactly right. They're prophesying and not knowing it. Okay, which his name is not Jesus, Yahushua, and what he's coming back to do, okay, is different from what they say, but the initial statement, okay, the small hats, which is the least of the flock, has drawn America into this war with Iran, which is part of the kings of the East, okay, and this war is going to escalate until it goes nuclear, and you're going to have to return to Yahushua. Okay, just to sum it up of what's going on, according to prophecy, man. You see? So with that initial statement, they're exactly right, but they don't have the right context. Okay, and then you can tell this world, you know, they hate even mentioning. Okay, they call it Jesus, you know, but they hate mentioning the Messiah, boy. They hate mentioning the Bible. You can tell she's frustrated. You know, this guy, you know, the little chubby faced guy from the Young Turks, he's frustrated. You know, nobody wants to bring up the Bible. All this war, this major war, okay, is happening. But then you bring up the Bible, man. People do not want to bring up the Bible. You know, people do not want this age to end. Okay, but they have no choice. Okay, this ain't that you don't vote on the end. Okay, this the will of the Lord. So let's play this.
Information for you?
No, just when you thought the Israeli Zionists were bad enough in starting wars for all the wrong reasons, here comes the Christian Zionists. Joy. Wait till you hear what the commander said about why we're in this war and what to do. Tell us about it, yes.
All right, so let's give you the high points. This is from Jonathan Larson's report. He says, a combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers at a briefing Monday that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth.
And that's exactly what that nigga did. Trump lit the fire. Okay, Trump lit the fire. That nigga did that. Okay, and this is going to usher in Yahweh Shai. He's exactly right. This is a prophecy. This is the Lord speaking. Now, when you go into, all right, the way they try to spin it, that's when they go off. Okay, but this is the Lord making these statements come out. Because this is the Lord speaking to the church. This is their war that's going to usher in Yahweh Shai. You see? This is what the prophet's been saying. This is their war that's going to usher in Yahweh Shai. This war is going to escalate all the way into the return of Yahweh Shai, man. You know? And it can be some, like I say, it still can be some ceasefires down the line. Maybe not. Maybe they just keep going conventional. The MOTB be made mandate in the midst of all this, because this war finna have a major effect on the economy. So the MOTB can be made mandatory while they're still having conventional war. Okay, so the MOTB can be made mandatory while they're having conventional war. Okay, and after the MOTB is mandated and everyone that's supposed to get it, okay, it is marked for destruction, then hey, nothing is stopping the missiles from that. Nothing is stopping the war from going nuclear after the MOTB is mandated and everyone that's supposed to get it, all right, gets it, all right, and then hey, loose them arrows, man. Okay, but this is that war that's going to usher in. It's going to escalate to the second coming of Yahweh Shai. Okay, so Trump was appointed, okay, to do Nero 47, as El Apostle Hart calls him. Nero 47 was appointed to do exactly what he's doing. Okay, he's nothing but a chess piece on the board. All right, and the Lord had him, you know, to make that move, and now, okay, he done started the you know, he done knocked down the first domino. Okay, and the Lord used Trump to knock down that first domino, man. Okay.
And that is according to a non-commissioned officer. So we'll talk more about whatever that even means later. But between Saturday and Monday, more than 110 complaints had been logged by the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, or the MRFF, regarding the rhetoric about commanders in every branch of military. The complaints were widespread across more than 40 different units across roughly 30 military installations. And according to one report, the non-commissioned officer wrote to the MRFF that their commander urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ.
Hey, the imminent return of Yahweh Shai, you know. So let's go to the book of Revelation. Let's get into it, man. You know. Let's get into that. You see? So let's go here to the book of Revelation. That's 16. Revelation 16 and 12, it says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates. Okay, you see that? and that the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So this Revelation 16 and 12. Okay, read again, and it says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Now, when you go here, okay, let's get a map. They're dealing with the Euphrates. Okay, let's see. Let's see here. So let's go here. I think it's two maps. Got the Megiddo pulled up too. But when you go here to the Euphrates River, what you see here, the Euphrates runs right here. This river that runs through Iraq and Syria. Okay, it runs into Turkey. All right, which Turkey is a part of those kings of the east. You know, and then with these latest developments in this war, you know, with America talking about using and arming, all right, the Kurds, okay, and the CIA training the Kurds, okay, to invade, Iran. Well, that's going to activate Turkey, because Turkey and the Kurds are rivals, okay. So yeah, man. So everything is falling into place exactly how the Lord said it would. Though it tarry, wait on it, for it would not tarry, okay. But when you look at the Euphrates, all right, and you look to the east, all right, the kings of the east, all right, the first is Iran right here, all right, and then if you keep going east, you have what, Pakistan, Russia, China, okay, North Korea, all right, India, all these are on the east of the Euphrates, okay, so the Euphrates, okay, is being dried up, and then even what, okay, they're clearing the way. They're clearing the way, all right, by destroying all American military bases, man. Okay, that's strategic as well. And this the Lord is doing this, man. The Lord is a man of war. Remember, the Heavenly Father is a man of war. Okay, who created war strategy, man? So what you have Iran doing by destroying all these military bases and military assets of America in this region, all right, they're clearing the path, man, for the rest of the kings of the east to come behind them, man. You see, for the rest of the kings of the east to come behind them, okay, into Megiddo, all right, Armageddon, okay, because Armageddon is over here to the east, which you're going to get there, okay. When you go into Megiddo, matter of fact, you can get it while we're here, okay. So you got the Euphrates River and all these kings of the east, okay, it's going to be allied under Russia, okay. And it would say Russia going to bring them forth with shield and buckler, okay. So you go here, where they're going to go to. They're going to Megiddo, all right, which is here, okay, which is in northern Israel today, okay. And then you already got Iran. They're striking targets in Haifa right here, this port city, okay, this port city that's in Israel, okay. So they're already striking in Haifa. You see, in Iran, they're let me see, they're breaking down, okay, Israel as well. Israel, they're being dismantled in this war right now between small hats Iran and uh, America. You see, and Iran is getting hit too, okay, but it's nowhere near as effective. All right, Iran is strategically dismantling, okay, this region, especially here, all right, in Israel. You have Hezbollah, they have joined into the fight. They're beginning to bomb northern Israel, Okay. So the Lord got this thing mapped out. Okay. The kings of the east coming across the Euphrates, and eventually it's going to go down to Megiddo. Okay. The way is being cleared out. You see, the Lord, hey, the Lord is taking, all right, the Lord is taking the reins from here. You see? So now let's go back to the Revelation 16. This is the book of all right, this is the book of Revelation 16 and 12. It says, "And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the king of the east might be prepared." Okay? So this is what we're seeing. The kings of the east, their way is being prepared. Okay? 13, it says, "And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon." Okay? And these three unclean spirits, all right, when you go into, Washington, which is the military branch, okay, the Vatican, all right, which is the religious branch, and then you have, London, which is the financial branch, okay. So these devils, all right, these three, main branches, all right, is how they run the world, okay, through enchantments, okay, through economy and through military, okay. And it says, like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, all right, which is the Roman Empire, the new Rome, okay, America, NATO, and the EU. It says, "And out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet," which goes back to the Vatican, because you go into the top two religions, they all come out of Roman Catholicism. Even Islam is a spinoff that comes out of Roman Catholicism, man. Okay, so when you go into the biggest religions, because you look at it, the two biggest religions, Christianity and Islam, which are all false religions, you know. And the devil, he operates in confusion, okay, and deception. You see, but now everything is coming to a head, and everything is working against him. Even this false religion of Islam is working against him, man. Okay, and then these devils, they're, matter of fact, I'm finished reading this. It said, "For they are the spirits of devils working miracles," all right, and a lot of these miracles through technology, okay, "which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day of the Most High Almighty." Okay, so all these devils have done is push this world into this third world war, which is going to usher in Yahweh Shai, which is their judgment, which is the end of their kingdom. You see these devils in the background, and they make moves, and they play both sides, and they finance, one one group of elites will finance this side, one group will finance this side, and they sit back and have their agendas of what they want to achieve. Okay, but with this war, they're going to usher in Yahweh Shai. And see, things are not going exactly according to their plans. You see, things are not going exactly how the elites want it. All right, that's why I say what he knows he have but a short time, because he know when you have a short time, you don't move, okay, with with ease. Now you're frantic. Okay, you have a short time to get something done, especially something critical done. Okay, so this devil is out here scrambling, man. And what he's done, he has, pushed the world into this third world war, which is his end. Okay, and it's going to bring on the wrath of the God Almighty, Allah Shah, Yahweh Shah. He's coming back in the spirit, of God Almighty, man. Allah Shah, man. The scriptures talk about how the anger of his father was on him. It says behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth. Okay? Because these people, they don't have no clue how close we are to Yahweh Shai coming. They don't have a clue how close we are to this war, okay, escalating into nuclear war. Whether it's in months, whether it's next year, the year after, we don't know, but we close. Okay, this is that event that's going to usher in Yahweh Shai, man. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. So we want to keep our garments on, which is our conduct, our behavior, our belief. You see, we want to be covered in the spirit, man. That's why you got to be in the spirit now, man, more than ever. You see, putting on the elect, as the scriptures say. But most people are going to be completely naked. Most of our people, they're going to be naked out here, man. No cover. They don't believe in anything. All right, they're not rehearsing the righteous acts. They don't have, faith. They don't have trust. They don't have patience. They don't have the wisdom. They don't have the understanding. They don't have nothing. The standard. Okay, they don't have the names. They don't have nothing. They just out here, man. Okay, and it's going to be bad for them, man. All right, it says that he gathered them together in a place in the Hebrew tongue, all right, Armageddon. And when you go into the word in the Hebrew, which we show him speaking of Megiddo, well, when you go into this word in the Hebrew, all right, I think it's Armageddon. Yeah, so you go into all right, so you go into the Hebrew, it's in this word, Magad all right, Magad all right, we'll say place of crowds, okay, and what's those crowds gonna be? The troops, okay, place of crowds, which are the troops, okay, but then you go into this other word, because it's a compound word, all right, so with Harma, all right, Har, all right, you go into the Hebrew word Harmageddon, okay, hill, mountain, so mountain of troops, okay, Har goes in the mountain, all right, Magad goes into troops, so Harmageddon, okay, which is the Hebrew for Armageddon, okay, is a mountain of troops, okay, so the Lord is mustering the host of the battle. He's drawing these troops into this one region for war. Okay, and we're seeing them play out. Okay, let's go here. Let's get a few more. All right, let's go here to the book of Haggai. And it's playing out exactly how the Lord said it would play out. This is the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 22. It says, and I will overthrow the thrones of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen. You see that? And how is the Lord going to do that? Through Yahweh Shai. He's going to overthrow all the thrones of kingdoms, man, all these governments. Okay, anyone, all these governments and their militaries. And you keep reading, I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down. You see? So Yahweh Shai is coming to destroy the militaries of the earth. That's the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen. These militaries, man. Okay? And it says, and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down, everyone by the sword of his brother. Okay, everyone by the sword of his brother, because it's going to begin with these nations taking each other out. Okay, they're going to be destroying each other. They're going to be destroying each other's kingdoms. These nations are going to get destroy each other governments and kingdoms. So even this back and forth, like Iran is being hit, America being, that's the Lord. Israel being hit, American assets being hit. That's the Lord starting to dismantle this place, man. This is the beginning phase. Okay, so the Lord is beginning to break down all these governments of the earth, man. They just been hammer on each other, man. Okay, and Yahweh Shai, he's gonna come and finalize, okay, this war, all right, by destroying everything, man. Destroying all the militaries of the earth, man. Turning these militaries into powder. Okay, so everything is happening exactly as the Lord said it would happen. And this war is going to usher in, okay, Yahweh Shai. Okay, so even when you go to what else I want to get? In fact, let's get that real quick in second Ezra, because the second Ezra is just going into the details. And get this here in yep, it's the spirit too. So already. It's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 13. I started at 1. It says, "And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved the waves thereof, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with thousands of heaven." This is the return of Yahweh Shai, and it's going to be in the midst of this war. Okay, Yahweh Shai and the heavenly host. Okay, and when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled. There was seen under him. All right, showing that that chariot is going to be above. Okay, these militaries of the earth, these fighter jets, helicopters, whatever. Okay, the chariot is going to be above. You see, it's going to be on top of the militaries of the earth. You see, it's going to be exalted. And it says, "And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, which is that fire coming out of the opening of the chariot, all they that burned that heard his voice, like as the earth filleth when it filleth, okay, the fire." So just like grass will burn, how easily grass just disintegrates, okay, if it was on fire, okay. Well, that's how these militaries are going to burn. Okay, they're just going to disintegrate from the fire of the chariots, man. Okay, it says, "And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea." Okay, and these are the militaries of the earth. Okay, they're going to scramble and join together to fight Yahushua. Okay, it said, "But behold, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it." Okay, so that chariot was likened unto a great mountain. Show you how massive, all right, that chariot is going to be, how Shai is going to be on. "But I would have seen the region or place where the hill was graven, and I could not." Okay, and that's how massive that chariot was, man. It's like he couldn't see the end of it. He couldn't measure it with his eyes. You see how massive that chariot was, man. "And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet durst fight." Okay, so these militaries of the earth are going to be terrified, but the Lord going to put the spirit on them to fight. Okay, they're going to square up, and that's all they're going to do. Okay, it says, "And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand nor sword, nor any instrument of war. Okay, because Yahweh Shai, all right, he's gonna be on that chariot, man. Okay, he's not gonna have to. Okay, you see, he's not gonna have to be like John Wick. Okay, actually out here, moving and shaking amongst these heathens. Nah, man, the chariot gonna do all the work, man. He's gonna be controlling that chariot. The chariot gonna do all the work. You see, get busy. All right, he's just gonna be in full control of that chariot. All right, destroying. Verse 10, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, man. So Edges just seeing chariot come from that. It's like he's seen this fire come from the chariot in all different ways, man. And then massive chariot, man. You best believe it's gonna be many. All right, it's gonna be many streams of fire. All right, and styles of fire coming out that chariot at once, man. Okay, and it says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude, which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid, man. This is it. The Lord gonna turn the military. Yahweh Shai is coming back to turn the militaries of the earth to powder, man. Okay. The Lord's gonna turn the militaries of the earth into powder. Okay, Yahweh Shai, he's coming to wage war. Okay. So what we're seeing is the build up to that. All right. So what they're speaking on, dealing with this war is divine, and it's going to usher in Yahweh Shai, and Trump was appointed to start this thing off, and that nigga was, because he kicked down that first domino. Now ain't no reversing what this nigga done started. Okay, we here now. Babylon done stepped into their trap. They're done. Okay. So that's the point, just wanted to get into that, Lord will. All right, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified. Till next time I say Shalom. Kwam Yashala. Abba soon. Shalom.